Hello, and welcome to A Piece of Cake, Utah. I'm your host, Katherine O'Donnell, and today we're going to be getting ready for Valentine's Day. I'm going to show you, using melted chocolate and modeling chocolate, how to make several types of chocolate baskets or chocolate boxes or different things that you can use to give something sweet to your sweetheart for Valentine's Day. So we're going to start off by melting some of our chocolate. And again, my favorite kind is the Guittard brand chocolate. It just melts really well. I hope that's how you pronounce it, but it melts really well. It just has a really great flavor to it, and I really like it. So I usually buy it over at Funfinity, and that's a great place to buy it. You can also find it online anywhere that sells it. That works really good. So while that warms up, we're going to get some other things ready first. We're going to do our chocolate basket. So you will need at least 6 little lollipop sticks. I like to use the lollipop ones instead of the cookie sticks because the lollipop ones are a little bit thinner and they're just easier to cut through. And the cookie sticks, usually when I try to cut through them, they kind of get distorted or squished or something when I try to cut them. So I really like using the lollipop ones. Okay, so that's 30 seconds there. And I like to go in short intervals. The first one is usually about 30 seconds. And then I'll go into about 20-second intervals melting the chocolate. You just don't want to burn it, and it really is easy to burn it in your microwave. So we'll do 20 seconds now here. Okay, so while that's cooking, we're going to cut some of our sticks here. I bought a pair of shears, garden shears that I use just for my cake decorating stuff. I just want to make sure those don't fly everywhere. And I cut them halfway. These are 4 inches long, and so I cut them halfway through. And so that gives me 2-inch ones. There we go. And that works out really good, the 2-inch high ones for this little project. Okay, let's stir this up some more, and we are almost there with that. You really want to make sure that you stir it up really nice and evenly so that all of the chocolate gets melted, and also there's not one patch that's hotter than the others. Also, by stirring it up, when you have your hot chocolate in there, it will help melt everything else around it when you stir it up. So that really helps to give it an even melting with it. And then our last 2 we'll cut here. Okay, then the other thing we're going to get ready is our little baking pan, because we're going to set our melted chocolate things inside of here and then put it in our refrigerator so it can cool down as it needs to. And again, you want to make sure any utensils or bowls or anything that you use with your melted chocolate are dry. They don't have any moisture inside of them. Water and chocolate don't mix. It will seize up your chocolate and make it really yucky. If you do get some water into your chocolate, you can use Paramount crystals, and that will help to soften up the chocolate, thin it down. Also, if you just buy a chocolate that doesn't melt very well, it's still really thick after it's been melted, you can use those Paramount crystals to thin it down, and it works out really great. Okay, so now our chocolate is melted. We are going to take our sticks here, and we're going to dip our sticks as far as we can get them into the chocolate, and trying to save our fingers from getting tons of chocolate onto them. But just dip it in there as far as you can go. You can use tweezers if you want. I just take a chance and using my fingers. Okay, so we've got one. We're just going to dip it with some chocolate because these sticks are going to become the little pieces that we are going to weave our modeling chocolate, there you go, around to make our little woven basket. And so you don't want to have any of the white part showing, so we dip these into the chocolate so that they can just go with the whole color scheme of our basket. So we're just dipping these and laying them down. And like I said, you want to have about 6 of them. It really depends on the size of basket that you want. Let me show you really quick. I'm going to be using this large heart-shaped cookie cutter as the base of my basket. And so you can take your sticks and you can kind of measure around the edges, you know, how many sticks it's going to take to get all the way around. Also, you want to have enough sticks placed nicely so that the pattern and the shape of that heart will show through, and it won't look more like a round circle or something like that. So I've already figured out that I want to have about 6 sticks to each side of my heart. So 12 total. Okay, and 2 more, and we'll be done with that. And you can also, you know, go back after these have dried and dip the little tiny white parts that are showing, but they actually end up getting stuck inside of the melted chocolate base for your basket, so they don't end up showing anyway. And if some white shows or something like that, even after you've assembled everything, you can always go back with a little paintbrush and your melted chocolate and touch it up. So that works out great. Okay, so those are starting to dry already, which is great. So now we're going to take our heart-shaped cutter and put our pan closer to us, and we're going to lay it down flat on some wax paper that's in our cookie sheet. And we're going to take the rest of this melted chocolate and pour it down into here so we can get our little heart shape. You don't want to pour the whole thing in there because you don't want this to be too thick. You also don't want it to be too thin. So it's a good balance of thickness here. We want to get it to be at least 1/4 of an inch thick. That way the sticks will stand up inside of it nicely without any problems with breakage or falling over or things like that. So I'm just going to move it around until the whole thing inside is covered in chocolate. And then you can also take your pan and just kind of do a little tap, tap, tap type thing onto your table surface, and that will just help move everything around so that it gets really nice and covered. So we're going to go stick this in the fridge, and then we'll come back and show you the next couple steps. Okay. Welcome back. So we stuck this in the fridge for just about a minute. You really don't want to leave it in there too long because then your heart base is going to set up. What you're really looking for is to just set up the little sticks that you dipped. So as soon as they are dry, and sometimes they will get dry before you even finish with your base of your heart, which is perfect. But we're going to do this now. So you're going to stick this into the chocolate here inside of your heart, and just line them up against the edge here of our cookie cutter. I really like this cookie cutter because it's really tall, and so I can do some really thick cookies and chocolate things and decorations with it. It's just a really great cookie cutter. So we're going to stick all of these inside of here. There we go. And it's okay if this chocolate base set up a little bit, because that actually helps with these sticks as you stick them in there, that they will stand up nicer. And if for some reason you forget this step and it's totally set up, you can always pop out this bottom base, stick it back in the microwave, remelt everything, and re-pour it before you stick the sticks in. So yeah, it works out just great. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this very well, but we've got all of our little sticks stuck in here, and they're kind of sticking up here in our chocolate base, so we'll stick that in the fridge. I've actually already got one made up here, so we'll get it out. Here we go. And this is what it looks like, all hardened and made up and everything. So we've got our little chocolate base here and all these little chocolate sticks sticking up, and I'm just going to look at it really quick. I don't see any white parts of the cookie or the lollipop stick showing, so it looks perfect. So we're going to have that set aside, and then we've got our modeling chocolate, and obviously you want it to be the same color as your base and your stick, so you can do this in any color that you want. You can do it in the pink and white and red. Usually around the different holiday times they sell the different colored chocolates, and so you can buy them pre-colored. You can also buy, I've got some pink candy coloring here that I use with my white melting chocolates, and so I can make pink chocolate or red chocolate if I want, things like that. So we're just going to knead our little modeling chocolate a little bit to get it warmed up here. I really, really like using modeling chocolate. It's a lot firmer than fondant. It tastes better, I think, because it's chocolate. Who can say no to chocolate? But it also firms up a lot faster than the fondant does. It's a lot stronger than the fondant is. And also, when you try to model or make things out of it, it seems to combine better together. The fondant, usually you can see little creases or marks or things like that. So yeah, I really like using the modeling chocolate for a lot of things. There are things that it doesn't work well with, especially the heat in the summertime. Modeling chocolate is not my favorite item to use because it just softens up way too quickly. So I'm using powdered sugar here on my surface to make sure that my rolling pin and my surface don't stick to my modeling chocolate. I'm just going to roll it out a little bit to kind of help me with kneading it and getting it softer again. What we want to do now is we're going to cut up a whole bunch of strips, and we're going to weave them in and out of our little base here on our heart to make our basket. Now, the easiest way to roll out some long strips is to knead this into kind of like a long log here, and then we're going to roll it like this, and so that can roll out into a nice long piece. You don't have to go all the way around with one single piece of modeling chocolate for this. It works better if you do, but like I said, it kind of combines to itself, molds back into itself a lot easier than fondant or something. So if you have to, you can do it in several different pieces. Okay. You want this to be kind of thick, so I'm only going to roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch thick, maybe a little bit less. But the thicker it is, the easier it'll stand up to what you're going to do. So, okay. So then we're going to get our ruler just to help us cut some straight lines here. And this ruler I only use for cake decorating. So you want to make sure that your items that you use, like your cutters and your rulers and all that kind of stuff, are just kept for cake decorating, so you don't have to worry about little things getting into your chocolate or your fondant or things that are going to be eaten. Okay. We're going to cut probably about 5 of these strips here. And it's okay if they're not perfect, if they're not exactly the same thickness the whole time. I think with baskets and different things like that, a lot of times you get things that are not perfect in different shapes, and that's what makes them look more realistic. If it's too perfect, then it's not real. Okay, one more here. And we will worry about trimming the edges of these later after we start weaving everything together. Okay, so I'm going to clean some of this up, push it aside here. Okay, so now we've got our basket here, and we are going to start weaving these pieces in and out. I'm going to start just here at the base, and I'm just going to hook the edge here to that, and then just start weaving these pieces around. Now, as I've started here, I've realized that the direction that I'm going and how I'm weaving this in and out is not exactly the way that I want it to be. I want it to go around these pieces here so that it looks more like a basket. So I need to change my direction and start on a different side. And because this modeling chocolate works so well, you can do that. You can stop and start again if you even finish the project and you look at it and you're like, oh, I just don't like that. This modeling chocolate is very forgiving, and you can do that. You can stop and start again and redo it. It works out really great. I really like this stuff. Okay, so we've got that side, that first one done there. And I'm just tightening up these pieces here, but I'm also trying to form them so that they kind of take on that heart shape. And then we'll go back here. I'm going to take, let's see, where did I put? There we go, my X-Acto knife. I really like using an X-Acto knife better than just a sharp kitchen knife. It cuts through it easier, and it doesn't tend to crumble or distort whatever I'm cutting. So push those two pieces together and go through this side, and we've come to the end here. So we'll cut this off and fold it in there so it looks like it's all attached. Okay, and now we'll start again, and this time we're going to go the opposite direction. Yeah, I like how that turned out better, to go that other way first. So we'll weave these around like that. That piece ended. So we'll cut this one, cut this side. We'll start folding these ones together. Now there is a little bit of powdered sugar left over on this modeling chocolate, but that's okay. It can eventually dissolve into the chocolate. If there's enough of the powdered sugar on there, it won't do that. It will kind of stay there. So you can just take a little bit of water on a paintbrush and just brush it on there. You can take a dry paintbrush or cake decorating brush and brush it. It'll come off. Lots of different options with that. Okay, so we finished that side, and this one is going to go over the top again, around there, and this is weaving just so nicely and starting to look really super cool here. We'll cut off this side. Fit these two pieces together, and just by the heat of my fingers, it's coming together really nicely here. So you don't have to do too much pushing and molding together when you want two pieces to stick together, which is really nice. I like that about the modeling chocolate. Okay. And then we're going to cut off this edge here and combine it with this one. There we go. And then our last little piece here, we're going to use that to wrap it one more time. I know I said to cut 5, but it looks like I can probably fit this one more on here. So we're going to roll out this little excess piece here. Let's combine it together, and we'll re-roll it and knead it together so it can cover all the way to the top of our little sticks here. Okay. And if your modeling chocolate gets a little bit soggy and soft just from the heat of working with it and with your hands and everything. You can just set it aside, put it back in the fridge for a minute so that it can harden up again, or just grab a new piece. I always divide my pieces into two and have one set aside so that if I do need to change it out because it's getting too soft, then I've got a piece that I haven't been working with, and it will be nice and hard and ready for me to work with. Okay, this one we don't need to roll out too long because we've only got a little ways to go. And you could try and be exact and measure it and everything. Sometimes measuring helps, sometimes you just want to go for it and just try it. Okay, I'll cut out this piece. There we go. I'm going to trim the edge here just a little bit. Okay. So now we'll soften up this side so it'll stick to our other piece here. There we go. Oh, perfect. Can't believe that worked out so perfectly. There we go. Just trim the last little bit here, just a tiny bit. Squeeze it together. Okay. So now we have our finished little heart basket. This is the coolest thing ever. I really like it. So you'll want to set this aside. Again, you can stick it back in the fridge. You can just set it aside on your countertop. Let everything kind of stiffen up, especially the modeling chocolate needs to stiffen up a little bit now that we've been working with it. You can go back and, push it around a little bit, make some different changes and things that you want to do with it or something. If you don't like the way, oh, this piece shows too much or something, you can go back and reweave it and whatever you want to do. You can make different pieces to weave around. I kind of flatten mine out. You can roll these into, long little snake-like pieces and weave them around that way. That works out really great. Another cute technique, especially for a basket weave type thing, you can roll this modeling chocolate out flat, and then if you have a wire brush, you can scratch the wire brush across it, and it kind of makes it all scratched up and look like real wood or something like that. So that's a really cool technique with that. Okay, so we have our modeling chocolate basket. Next up, I'm going to show you how to make a cute little candy cup, or you can make it into a little chocolate box or something like that. So we'll see you in a minute.